Alright guys, we're here for round 1 of the Center Daily with Black Green Devotion, and we won the die roll, so let's take a look. Well, looks like we got a pretty generically awesome Mono Green Devotion hand, so hopefully our opponent doesn't do a whole lot of stuff to kill our creatures, and we just run wild on him. Very much looking forward to making some big Genesis Hydras this game. And we're going to go ahead and play Courser here instead of the Elvish Mystic. That allows us to basically get the same amount of mana next turn. Actually, we end up getting one more off of the Nykthos. If we didn't have Nykthos, we might have just played Elvish Mystic, depending on what our opponent did. Our opponent looks to be playing an Abzan Whip deck, and he revealed 4 cards that all went to the graveyard. Ooh, okay, so he's not playing Abzan Whip, he's actually playing Brad's 4-color control deck. And I expect that deck to be really popular in the coming weeks, since Brad did make top 8 with it, and it is pretty cool. But here we get to kind of explode, and luckily we don't have to be afraid of Crackling Doom because he played a Forest and a Sandstep Citadel, so there's no way he can Crackling Doom us next turn. Needs to have a Mountain and Chain to the Rocks or something like that, and even if he does, we might get to play Hornet Queen if we hit a land. So, and the fact that I know his deck doesn't have any mass removal is great for us. We can actually just play a big Hornet Queen if we want to. I think that actually sounds sweet. Alright, spent too much. Alright, well, and we're not going to sacrifice our Elvish Mystic, even though it would deal a few more points of damage. We assume he would chump block, but he might trade off here with Elvish Mystic, but since I know the matchup, there's not a whole lot he can do with this explosive of a draw. Game 2 and 3 are going to be much harder. He's going to have access to Anger of the Gods, likely in hostility, since that's what me and Brad played at the Open last weekend in... where did we go? Richmond. That was it. But yeah, so we know he has Chain to the Rocks, so Reclamation Sage is going to be pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and bring in 2 more just in case. It also kills his Courser, so having a few is fine. We don't really want Brain Maggot. I think we want Brain Maggot mostly just against control decks that have a big sweeper effect and not a ton of spot removal like blue-white control. Also, it's like pretty good against heroic or decks that don't have a lot of removal, but in this matchup, he's going to be able to kill the Brain Maggot with like an Anger of the Gods probably. I think we actually want to side out some of our mana producers since Anger of the Gods is so good against them. And it's likely we don't want Doomwhite Giant since he doesn't have any token producers other than Elspeth. I think we want some Planeswalkers with Nissa to survive his sweeper effects. And I guess Voyaging Satyr is probably the worst one because it dies to Lightning Strike as well. But I don't want to side out too many because our deck does rely on mana producers to actually, you know, go off. I think I'm going to cut Freaka as the last one since he'll probably have Utter End, Chain to the Rocks, and the fact that it's not going to get turned on very easily is important as well. So let's go with this and hope it works. Yeah, as you can see, that last draw was very good. Most decks are unprepared in the first game, especially mid-range strategies against the Green Devotion deck, so you get a lot of Game 1 wins, very similar to combo decks in other formats. Alright, we're back for Game 2. Our opponent is mulliganed. I think this hand is pretty decent. It doesn't get swept under the rug by Anger of the Gods, if you will. We do have a second copy of Nykthos, which is probably going to be bad, but we do have Courser, Plukernos, and a Chord of Calling, which can help us play around a sweeper effect if we get to untap with a reasonable number of guys. If we had been against an opposing 7-card hand, this one probably would have been a little worse. That third Nykthos and second Plukernos are definitely not what we want to be drawing. So bottom the second Plukernos. Well, that was a pretty good one. I'm going to go ahead and play Carroted. That'll likely lead us into next turn playing Courser over the Plukernos, since if we hit a land off of it, that would be great. And if he has Crackling Doom, he might end of turn play it on the Courser. Genesis Hydra? Oh, it's not so bad. Plus, if we don't have a land and the top card is bad, we can play the Windswept Heath and shuffle it away. Alright, well, we'll go ahead and play the Mana Confluence, and Eidolon on Blossoms on top is pretty good. And no Crackling Doom as of yet. He may have it and just be saving it for Plukernos. Alright, Sylvan Caryatid from him. Not exactly ideal for him. We don't really want to draw that Plukernos, or we may actually end up wanting to draw the Plukernos, if that makes sense, but for right now, we're just going to put the Windswept Heath into play, and then we're just going to cast Plukernos, and if he kills it, then we'll draw the second one. And can't attack through the Caryatid, so just pass turn. Now, if he doesn't kill the Plukernos, then we're going to be in really great shape here, I think, but likely going to be able to fight and kill the Courser. And he desperately needs land, so he's just going to shuffle away this Siege Rhino, which is pretty reasonable, considering Siege Rhino is not fantastic in this matchup, and misses on land off the top, but hits a Caryatid. And I'm not really afraid of a 2-mana removal spell for black-green in this matchup, and he doesn't have enough cards in his graveyard to cast Murderous Cut. So we are going to shuffle away the Plukernos, I think. Another Courser is pretty good. Can actually go Eidolon into Courser and draw a few cards here. So we'll go ahead and use our first Nykthos. Play Eidolon. That'll leave us a mana floating and make our second Nykthos even better. And we'll keep the new Nykthos. And how much is this? 7. So we can only Monstrous for 3. I'm kind of afraid of a... Let's see. It might not be worth it to even do that. So there's a part of me that just wants to attack with my Plukernos and pass, and then if he plays a sweeper effect, we can float 7 mana and then Court of Calling for 4. And unfortunately we did not leave in a Doomwake Giant, so if he casts Elspeth next turn, then we could be in a little trouble. We can also just main phase Court of Calling, Reclamation Sage kills Courser. I don't hate that, since I do have another Court of Calling and a backup Courser. Yeah, let's do that. Alright, so right now X is 2. Make it 3. Now let's get a Reclamation Sage, shuffle our deck, kill this. Now, if he has a sweeper next turn, that's going to be bad for us, but it has to be in hostilities. Like, we don't even really care that much about Anger of the Gods, because it'll kill his Caryatid, and we'll still be left with a Courser and a Plukernos. So. Alright, Lightning Strike on the Eidolon. I'm fine with that. Okay, well, I think he's dead, or very close to dead. Let's see. 3. So, this Voyaging Satyr is a free roll for us on mana. I think it actually gains us some mana. Nykthos mana, or Nykthos math is hard. Alright, so we'll make 7. Keep the new Nykthos. Make 14, or sorry, make 12, and then Plukernos for 5, and kill his Courser, and kill him. Okay. And that's how you beat a Brad Nelson deck. Exacxies. Sweet. Oh, okay. Well, Unfortunately, our opponent was not able to sideboard due to the bug, so his deck was even more poorly positioned against us than we would have liked. It was not exactly a fair fight, but we did get to see our deck do some really powerful things, and that was cool. But yeah, that was round one. We'll be back for round two shortly.